Hey guys, Matt, IronTrap Garage, and we're going to do another video on the big red truck, our hauler that we've been putting a 12-valve Cummins engine in. So in the last video, we were pretty triumphant that we were able to get the engine to fire off and run and was bolted in the truck. Now all that's left is everything to do to make this thing actually like a driving truck again, or at least a somewhat driving truck. So in this video, we're gonna try and knock out as much as we can. I don't know if we're gonna actually get the truck driving in this video, but we have to tackle putting a one-wire alternator on this, on the truck. We gotta figure out how we're gonna mount the intercooler. Clint brought us a first-gen intercooler, Cummins intercooler that may work. I gotta figure out the tubing for that, the cooling system, I don't know, basically everything to make it go. So we're gonna show you guys along the way how we tackle all of these different things, and hopefully by the end this thing will at the very least be sitting here and running and cooling and boosting, and it'll be awesome. So let's get started. So after a bunch of cutting, we got everything opened up enough that we could slide the intercooler in, and it's about as tight as it can get into the core support without really getting invasive. So we're going to test this slam panel, or whatever you want to call it, in the butt. That's it. You're in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks good. All the bolt holes line up, and it's like I said, it's the horn is actually the furthest thing out, so it's not even, it's touching the horn here before the intercooler. So really, the only thing that's a pain in the butt is you have to take this off to get to that. But if we put all new threaded inserts in, stuff will come apart easily. So I guess the next thing would be,
See if the grill will fit.
yeah, so we should probably fix these with threaded inserts in them. And then this bottom one I think did hold a bolt.
Yeah.
We could probably get a couple of the bolts in and then slide the grill up in. These tabs are on the bottom. Take a look underneath. Oh shit. Dude. That'll work. And we might have to, you can see right here, we're going to have to trim the back of the grill just to get the bolts to line up. I mean, we're right there.
How are these tires?
They're right in the center. There were four of those crossbars.
Yeah.
So.
And look, right here, Matt. This nipple thing too. So if we shave that off, just trim this one little one, I think.
Yeah, it'd be pretty good. That's kind of crazy. What's up, buddy? Thanks for hanging. At least that's about as close as you're getting without. This looks like it's hitting the bottom of the core right there. I mean, you could.
Yeah, right here. I almost wonder if it's worth it.
Would you even notice? Grill sticking out a little more, nobody would even notice.
Well, and then the bumper.
Yeah,
I don't think. I would rather have it stick out a little bit and leave it intact.
All right, so we got the grill all mounted with the intercooler in there. We just have a ratchet strap holding it tight to the radiator support, and I can't believe how well this fits. We had to trim the grill just right here, this bar here, and the one back in here we had to trim a little bit, get it to fit. We knocked off these threaded inserts that are here. We knocked them down at the bottom so that it clears, and that's all pretty good. And we got 2 screws in holding it all together, and it's looking pretty good. It just barely sticks out from the body, just a little bit right here, which we're gonna just leave it alone. Otherwise, we'd have to really start cutting on things to get that last little bit, and I don't think it really matters. So that all fits in there. Looking at how the intercooler lines up, you can see this side it's just going to be a 45, another 45 basically down into it, if even that, and that should be a fairly straightforward piece to make. And then on the other side, on the turbo side, you can see we're going to have to come out the bottom here and probably do like a hard 90, and then it's going to go over to that. So if we just do a 90 over and maybe kind of gently get it over to that, that should fit up. So the nice thing is it's pretty, because they already had those holes torched in there, we just opened them up a little bit more, and we should be able to slide hoses right onto the intercooler without too much trouble. So that makes it fairly easy to service if you got to do anything. So pretty happy with that. So we're going to make some tabs that are going to go into, we actually have this flipped upside down. So these originally went into a hole in the Dodge. So we're actually make some tabs to kind of hold that, because we didn't have the room to put it down in there. And then there's some tabs right here, it's hard to see, that we're going to make a tab that comes off this and goes into the radiator support. So between those 4 tabs, 2 on either side, that should hold this thing in place and work out pretty darn good. So get this all blown back apart, start making our tabs, and put it back together. What's that? Alright, so I made up some brackets in the last couple shots, and we have the intercooler all mounted in place. So basically, for anybody that's even cares or is thinking about doing the swap or in this type of truck, I ended up flipping the intercooler upside down, and these are usually the rubber coated posts that stick down in the factory setup in the Dodge. Flipped it upside down so that it could sit flat on this panel here. So behind the grill there, it's just sitting flat on the top of the intercooler, and I have these to basically hold it against, just for some extra support. They're also, I made the brackets so that they kind of push down as well. And then you can see hiding in here, it's hard to see, but I have some brackets that mount. Might be able to see this one a little better. There you go. You can see I made a little like Z bracket that mounted in there. It goes into the radiator support, which is very, very sturdy, and this thing is not going anywhere. It's very mounted very, very nicely. So that all fits in very well. Now all I have to do is we have to replace some of these little like threaded clips that came on these trucks stock. They're all junk on this thing, and we're stripping and breaking. So we're going to put some just normal rib nut type threaded inserts in. We did that already here because these ones were also stripped and junk. So we're going to go around and do all those so that this upper slam panel, if you will mount correctly and easily, and then we can mount the grill back up. And this is pretty much good, and I could start working on these hoses you can see over here, and it should work out pretty good. So keep moving along. We're waiting on some parts for the radiator hoses and stuff, but we should have hopefully all the cooling and boost system all connected here after a little bit more work and some parts. Alright, so over the weekend I got a bunch of silicone adapters in so that we could hook up the intercooler and boost tubing, if you will. So I have everything on this side just loosely placed in. We have to tighten this one up and everything, but we got it all fitting pretty good. I used this piece of tubing that Justin gave me, my buddy Justin had laying around. I have to put beads on either end of it because it's just a plain piece of mandrel bent 3-inch tubing. This side worked out really great. A piece that Quint had brought with that was on his truck with this engine actually ended up being perfect with a 45 we had here, and then it has a slight, I don't know, couple degree bend, 10 degrees or something, 20 degrees. And then we had our little bellow that came on it originally. So all that stuff is already on. This is all tight. This side is good. So I just got to work on putting beads on that side, and then we should be good. We're fighting with some coolant leaks. Down there we had this factory little elbow for the heater hose, and when we went to hook everything up, there used to be a nipple here, and it had a rot hole in it and was just pissing out. So pulled it off. I tried to weld it, but it's right there. I started to weld it, but because it's some kind of cast something, it was acting funny and the weld was starting to crack. And yes, I could have ground it out, heated it up, re-welded it, and fought with it. We decided just to get rid of this and the reducer and just put, hopefully one, Steve's got it somewhere, because it has a reducer in it as well. So he just got an elbow that should thread right in, and then we can hook our heater hose to it, and we'll have a nice new fitting that shouldn't leak, and then we'll be pretty close to starting this thing and letting it run for a little while. Alright, so Steve and I have been doing a bunch of upgrades like we talked about. I ended up, this is stainless and my bead roller wasn't able to bead it, so I ended up cutting off one of the tubes that Clint gave us and putting the beaded section on the bottom and the top there. Got that all connected, looking good. We ended up grabbing the downpipe that Clint brought us that was off the truck that this motor had. This is the downpipe that was on this engine. That's the short way to put it. But anyways, it actually ended up fitting really well, and it fits. It's like comes out right here underneath, or just aiming behind the cab. Hard to see, I know. But for now, this will be okay. Eventually, we're going to do something better, but we want to be able to hear the engine better, having an actual exhaust, have the boost tubes hooked up. Steve got all the coolant leaks all pretty much, fingers crossed, sorted out, and oil change. Can't remember what else. Bunch of stuff we got done. Alternator is on, obviously. We checked that once already, and it got it charged.
Fuel leaks buttoned up too?
Yeah, we got all our fuel leaks buttoned up. We've been chasing our tail. I ended up having a little pinhole in my return tube, so we started it, and it was spritzing fuel inside the cab, which meant we had to pull the gas tank to fix it, so that we think is fixed. We got the original gas pedal all hooked up, so you can actually use the original Ford gas pedal. So we're going to start it up, hear how it sounds. We'll show you how the fuel flows into this neck here, and yeah, it should work out good. So here we go. doesn't, a little different than a flathead. All right, you can shut it off. All right, so finally, we chased our tail for about a week, just figuring out the stuff with the gas tank and all kinds of other crap, but we got it, finally. So far, fingers crossed. We got all that stuff kind of buttoned up. It seems to work pretty well. It's starting and shutting off, and you know, gauges are working, gas pedal works. Steve made this nice bracket, which I think we showed before, that's working out well. So at this stage, we are just waiting for a drive shaft pieces. So Steve's gonna keep working on buttoning up some wiring and stuff on the front end here to get the headlights all hooked back up. And then once we get the drive shaft, I'll start doing my thing and get the front drive shaft shortened and connected with the Cummins diesel stuff, and then test drive. Yeah. Alright, so in the last couple clips you saw this thing was running and running pretty darn good. Now that we have a downpipe on it and all of the major systems hooked up on the engine and the truck, we are just about ready for a test drive. But as of this video, we're still waiting for our chunk of drive shaft to show up in the mail that will have the yoke on it and whatever pieces we may need to adapt to the original front portion of the drive shaft in the truck. So it's pretty cool that we're able to just fire this thing up and hear it idle and rev it up and hear turbo sounds. Pretty neat. And I figured this was a good place to stop the video. So now that we have all this stuff hooked up, we even got the lights all hooked back up. We replaced all the fasteners we had to cut or broke in the front sheet metal. Steve got all the front sheet metal aligned again so the doors open and shut without hitting. We left the hood off for now because we need to work on kind of like the last step will be getting the inner fenders to fit again. We may have to modify them depending on how things come out from the engine, like the turbo and stuff may cause problems. I don't know yet, but we wanted to leave the hood off because it'll make it a little easier. And yeah, so pretty much got it all working. It's pretty sweet. Runs nice and cool so far, which is really exciting. Yes, we did get power brakes hooked up. I know that was a question in the last video that everybody was screaming at us about. The truck's brakes worked really well. For everybody that doesn't realize, this truck was made to haul a lot of weight. It has brakes that are made to handle a truck that hauls a lot of weight. So the brakes are actually quite adequate on this truck. Even though we put an engine that is more powerful, we're not going to be hauling more weight than this truck was rated for anyways. But the Cummins diesel, this particular version, comes with a vacuum pump on the engine from the factory. So we simply just hooked the vacuum line from the pump right up to the power booster. We have our power brakes again. Yes, we are going to be changing the master cylinder to a dual circuit master. We can all agree that on a truck this large, that is something that's not exactly the safest. So after we do some test drives and some things, that's going to be like probably, you know, step number one after we get it on the road is to put that master cylinder on there and upgrade the brakes a little bit. But in basically what, 3 videos, we got this thing in and running, and it looks almost factory, which is really cool. So that's all we have for this one. Hopefully the next video we will be driving this thing, which is going to be so cool. I am more excited than you are. Thanks guys, catch you later.